Hey and everyone, welcome to my YouTube channel which is Explore Yourselves, Banking and General Knowledge etc. Please subscribe to the channel and also please do like and share and leave your suggestions in the comment section. The events of 20th September 2024 are followed. Bengali date 3রা আশ্বিন 1431 as per Benimadavsil Ponjika today's Tithi is Krishna Ditya and up to 0356 hours and after that Krishna Tritiya. Today's Nakshatra is Revati Nakshatra and up to 0935 hours and after that Osini Nakshatra. Today is 264th day of the year. There are then 102 days left in 2024. Today is 38th Friday of 2024. Today is RPF, Railway Protection Force Foundation Day. The Railway Protection Force RPF Foundation Day is celebrated on September 20th each year. This day commemorates the day in 1985 when the RPF was granted the status of an armed forces of the Union. Here are some other things to know about the RPF. Establishment. The RPF was established by Parliament in 1957 to protect railway property. Powers. The RPF has the power to search, arrest, investigate and prosecute. Responsibilities. The RPF protects railway assets, prevents crimes on trains and railway areas, checks doubts in ticket bookings and more. Organization. The RPF is under the authority of the Ministry of Railways. The Director General (DG) of the RPF is usually an Indian Police Service officer. Today is National Concussion Awareness Day. Designated on the third Friday of September, National Concussion Awareness Day was created to elevate the conversation surrounding concussions on a national scale. Concussions have become an epidemic in the United States with millions of mild traumatic brain injuries happening each year. The purpose of National Concussion Awareness Day is to create an opportunity for public discussion of this issue. Rome incorporated into Italy. On this day in 1870, Italian troops occupied Rome, leading to the eventual incorporation of Rome into the Kingdom of Italy and the limiting of papal governing authority to the Vatican itself and a small district around it. Today is birth anniversary of Mr. Ernesto Teodoro Moneta, 20th September 1833 to 10th February 1918. Ernesto Teodoro Moneta was an Italian journalist, nationalist, revolutionary soldier, and later a pacifist and Nobel Peace Prize laureate. He adopted the motto in Varietate Unitas, which later inspired the motto of the European Union. At the age of 15, Moneta participated in the 5 Days of Milan 1848 uprising against Austrian rule. He later attended the military academy in Ivrea. In 1859, he joined Garibaldi's expedition of the Thousand and also fought in the ranks of the Italian army against the Austrians in 1866. Subsequently, he became an international peace activist. Between 1867 and 1896, he was editor of the Milan Democratic paper Tu Secolo, published by Eduardo Sangiovno. In 1890, he founded the Lombard Association for Peace and Arbitration, Unione Lombarda per la Pace e Arbitrato, which called for disarmament and envisaged the creation of a League of Nations and permanent court of arbitration. He won with Louis Renault the Nobel Peace Prize in 1907. Today is death anniversary of Miss Annie Besant, 1st October 1847 to 20th September 1933. Annie Besant was a British socialist, theosophist, Freemason, women's rights and home rule activist. educationist, and campaigner for Indian nationalism. She was an ardent supporter of both Irish and Indian self-rule. She became the first female president of the Indian National Congress in 1917. For 15 years, Besant was a public proponent in England of atheism and scientific materialism. Besant's goal was to provide employment, better living conditions, and proper education for the poor. He became a prominent speaker for the National Secular Society (NSS), as well as a writer and a close friend of Charles Bradlaugh. In 1877, they were prosecuted for publishing a book by birth control campaigner Charles Norton. Thereafter, she became involved with union actions, including the Bloody Sunday demonstration and the London Match Girls strike of 1888. He was a leading speaker for both the Fabian Society and the Marxist Social Democratic Federation (SDF). He was also elected to the London School Board for Tower Hamlets, topping the poll even though few women were qualified to vote at that time. In 1890, Besant met Helena Blavatsky, and over the next few years her interest in theosophy grew. Whilst her interest in secular matters waned, she became a member of the Theosophical Society and a prominent lecturer on the subject. As part of her theosophy-related work, she travelled to India. In 1898, she helped establish the Central Hindu School, and in 1922, she helped established the Hyderabad, Sindh and National Collegiate Board in Mumbai, today's Mumbai, India. The Theosophical Society Auditorium in Hyderabad, Sindh is called Besant Hall in her honor. In 1902, she established the first overseas lodge of the International Order of Freemasonry, led Dwight Human. Over the next few years, she established lodges in many parts of the British Empire. In 1907, she became president of the Theosophical Society, whose international headquarters were by then located in Adyar, Madras, Chennai. Besant also became involved in politics in India, joining the Indian National Congress when World War One broke out in 1914. She helped launch the Home Rule League to campaign for democracy in India and dominion status within the British Empire. This led to her election as President of the Indian National Congress. In late 1917, the late 1920s, Besant traveled to the United States with her protege and adopted son, Jiddu Krishnamurti, who she claimed was the new Messiah and incarnation of Buddha. Krishnamurti rejected these claims in 1929. After the war, she continued to campaign for Indian independence and for the causes of theosophy until her death in 1933. Today is death anniversary of Mr. Saint John Parts, 31st May 1887 to 20th September 1975. Alexis Lagar, better known by its pseudonym Saint John Parts, was a French poet, writer and diplomat, awarded the 1960 Nobel Prize in Literature for the soaring flight and the evocative imagery of his poetry, which in a visionary fashion reflects the conditions of our time. Today is birth anniversary of Sriram Sharma Acharya, 20th September 1911 to 2nd June 1990. Sriram Sharma Acharya, also known as Vedamurti Taponishta Pandit Sriram Sharma Acharya, dedicated his life to elevating human consciousness, culture, and civilization by synthesizing science with spirituality. He founded All World Gayatri Parivar and Brahma Bharchaj Sodh Sansthan in 1979. He embarked on a spiritual journey at the age of 15, undertaking 24 Mahapurush charans, each consisting of rhythmic recitation japa of 2.4 million Gayatri mantras, and later actively participated in India's independence movement. He propounded the 100-point program of Yug Nirman Yojana, campaign for era transformation, for societal upliftment and reformation of the era. His endeavors included extensive research on the syncretic propositions of science and spirituality, the revival of Rishi traditions, supervision of large-scale Gayatri sadhana and jhajana, translation of entire Vedic scriptures, and the writing over 3,000 enlightening books on every aspect of human life. His vision is encapsulated in the phrase "हम बदलेंगे, युग बदलेगा, हम सुधरेंगे, युग सुधरेगा." We will change, the era will change. We will improve, the era will improve. Continues to inspire generations. Today is death anniversary of Mr. Unup Kumar, born as Kallan Kumar Ganguly, 9th January 1926 to 20th September 1997. Mr. Unup Kumar, born Kallan Kumar Ganguly, was an Indian actor who appeared in over 65 Bollywood films. 2011. The official US military policy of Don't Ask, Don't Tell ends. The policy was instituted by the administration of Bill Clinton in 1994. Under the policy, openly gay personnel were not allowed to serve in the United States military, but they could serve as long as they did not reveal their LGBT status. 2001, American President George W. Bush declares war on terror. The global military campaign against terrorism was first declared in the aftermath of the September 11 attacks in the United States. The phrase was used by President Bush in a speech given to the United States Congress. 1984, The Cosby Show airs for the first time. The popular television sitcom followed the lives of a Brooklyn-based African-American family called the Tables. The show ran for 8 years on NBC and was largely based on the stand-up comedy of Bill Cosby, who played the role of Health Cliff Huxtable, the father in the show. 1973, Billie Jean King wins the Battle of the Sexes. The mixed-gender tennis match between top tennis player Bibi Riggs and Billie Jean King was held in Houston, Texas, after Riggs won another mixed-gender match against Margaret Court earlier in the year. The matches were prompted by Riggs' comments that even at the age of 55, he could beat any female tennis player. King beat Riggs and took home the $1 lakh prize money. The match was and still is one of the most viewed tennis matches on television. It was watched by about 90 million people around the world. 1904, Wilbur Wright makes the first circular flight. Wright, who with his brother Orville is credited for inventing the first airplane, made a complete circle in 1 minute and 16 seconds on the Wright Flyer 2. 2001, American President George W. Bush declares war on terror. September 20, 2001, President George W. Bush addressed a joint session of Congress and declared a global war on terror. In his speech, he outlined the objectives of the war, which included holding Al Qaeda accountable for the 9/11 attacks, eliminating terrorists and their networks, preventing terrorist attacks, defending and upholding democracy and freedom. 1857, British troops liberated Delhi from the rebels and captured it. On September 20, 1857, during the Indian Rebellion of 1857, also known as the Indian Mutiny or Sipai Mutiny, British troops captured and liberated the city of Delhi from the rebel forces. The Indian Rebellion of 1857 was a significant and widespread uprising against British colonial rule in India. Today is that is 20th September's highlights in history. 1602, the Spanish-held Dutch town of Grape capitulates to a besieging Dutch and English army under the command of Maurice of Orange. 1697, the Treaty of Recife is signed by France, England, Spain, the Holy Roman Empire, and the Dutch Republic, ending the Nine Years' War. 1737, the Walking Purchase concludes, forces the cession of 1.2 million acres, 4900 square kilometer of Lenape, Delaware tribal land to the Pennsylvania colony. 1792, French troops stop an Allied invasion of France at the Battle of Valmy. 1835, the decade-long Ragamuffin War starts when rebels capture Porto Alegre in Brazil. 1854, Crimean War. British and French troops defeat Russians at the Battle of Alma. 1857. The Indian Rebellion of 1857 ends with the recapture of Delhi by troops loyal to the East India Company. 1860. The future King Edward VII of the United Kingdom begins the first visit to North America by Prince of Wales. 1863. American Civil War. The Battle of Chickamauga in northwestern Georgia ends in a Confederate victory. 1870. The Bersaglieri Corps enter Rome through the Porta Pia and complete the unification of Italy. 1871. Bishop John Coleridge Patterson, first Bishop of Melanesia, is martyred on Nukapu, now in the Solomon Islands. 1881. US President Chester A. Arthur is sworn in upon the death of James A. Garfield the previous day. 1893. Charles Gurria and his brother road test the first American-made gasoline-powered automobile. 1911. The White Star Line's RMS Olympic collides with the British warship HMS Hawkeye's. 1920. Irish War of Independence. British police known as Black and Tans burned the round of Balbriggan and killed two local men in revenge for an IRA assassination. 1941. The Holocaust in Lithuania. Lithuanian Nazis and local police begin a mass execution of 403 Jews in Nomenstein. 1946. The first Cannes Film Festival is held, having been delayed for 7 years due to World War II. 1946. 6 days after a referendum, King Christian X of Denmark announced the declaration of independence of the Faroe Islands. 1955. The Treaty on Relations between the USSR and the GDR is signed. 1961. Greek General Konstantinos Davos becomes Prime Minister of Greece. 1962. James Meredith, an African American, is temporarily barred from entering the University of Mississippi. 1965. Following the Battle of Burki, the Indian Army captures Dogra during the Indo-Pakistani War of 1965. 1967. The Cunard liner Queen Elizabeth II is launched in Clydebank, Scotland. 1971. Having weakened after making landfall in Nicaragua the previous day, Hurricane Irene regains enough strength to be renamed Hurricane Olivia, making it the first known hurricane to cross from the Atlantic Ocean into the Pacific. 1973. Billie Jean King beats Bobby Riggs in the Battle of Sexes tennis match at the Houston Astrodome. 1973. Singer Jim Croce, songwriter and musician Morrison, and four others die when their flight aircraft crashes shortly after takeoff from Natchitoches Regional Airport in Louisiana. 1977. Vietnam is admitted to the United Nations. 1979. A French-supported coup defeat in the Central African Empire overthrows Emperor Bokasai. 1982 NFL season. American football players in the National Football League begin a 57-day strike. 1984 a suicide bomber in a car attacks the US Embassy in Beirut, Lebanon, killing 22 people. 1989 USA Air Flight 5050 crashes into Boari Bay during a rejected takeoff from LaGuardia Airport, killing two people. 1990 South Ossetia declares its independence from Georgia. 2000 The United Kingdom's MI6 Secret Intelligence Service building is attacked by individuals using a Russian-built RPG-22 anti-tank missile. 2001 In an address to a joint session of Congress and the American people, US President George W. Bush declares a war on terror. 2003 Civil unrest in the Maldives breaks out after a prisoner is killed by guards. 2007 Between 15,000 and 20,000 protesters march on Jena Louisiana, United States in support of six black youth who had been convicted of assaulting a white classmate. 2008, a dump truck full of explosives detonates in front of the Marriott Hotel in Islamabad, Pakistan, killing 54 people and injuring 266 others. 2011, the United States military ends its "Don't Ask, Don't Tell" policy, allowing gay men and women to serve openly for the first time. 2017, Hurricane Maria makes landfall in Puerto Rico as a powerful category 4 hurricane, resulting in 2,975 deaths, US $90 billion in damage, and a major humanitarian crisis. 2018, at least 161 people die after a ferry capsized close to pier on Bukara Island in Lake Victoria, Tanzania. 2019, roughly 4 million people, mostly students, demonstrate across the world to address climate change. 16-year-old Greta Thunberg from Sweden leads the demonstration in New York City. More highlight in the history for 20th September. In 1519, Portuguese explorer Ferdinand Magellan and his crew set out from Spain on 5 ships to find a western passage to the Spice Lands. Magellan was killed en route, but one of his ships eventually circled the world. In 1881, Chester A. Arthur was sworn in as the 21st President of the United States, succeeding the assassinated James A. Garfield. In 1946, the first Cannes Film Festival, lasting 16 days, opened in France. In 1962, James Meredith, a black student, was blocked from enrolling at the University of Mississippi by Democratic government Ross R. Barnett. In 1964, the Beatles concluded their first full-fledged US tour by performing in a charity concert at the Paramount Theatre in New York. In 1967, the Cunard liner RMS Queen Elizabeth II was christened by Britain's Queen Elizabeth II in Sidebank, Scotland. In 1973, in their so-called Battle of Sexes, Tennessee star Billie Jean King defeated Bobby Riggs in straight sets 6-4, 6-3, 6-3 at the Houston Astrodome. In 1973, singer-songwriter Jim Croce died in a plane crash near Natchitoches, Louisiana at the age of 30. In 1995, in a move that stunned Wall Street, AT&T Corporation announced it was splitting into three companies. In 2000, independent counsel Robert Ray announced the end of the Whitewater investigation, saying there was insufficient evidence to warrant charges against Bill and Hillary Clinton. In 2011, repeal of the US military's 18-year-old "Don't Ask, Don't Tell" compromise took effect, allowing gay and lesbian service members to serve openly. In 2012, Space Shuttle Endeavour, riding atop a Boeing 747, landed at a California Air Force base en route to its eventual retirement home, the California Science Center in Los Angeles. In 2018, Japanese Prime Minister Shinzo Abe was re-elected as head of his ruling Liberal Democratic Party in a landslide. Abe would be assassinated after leaving office in 2022. In 2019, Three Mile Island in Pennsylvania, the 1979 site of the nation's most commercial nuclear power accident, was shut down by its owner after producing electricity for 45 years. Thank you very much for your patience.